So let's go ahead and let's start talking about these first couple of picks that they have made. The Tigers were picking at 12 in the first round, and it was a bit of an odd first round because any mock that you saw had almost some had about 11 position players and bats going before even the Tigers got there. And it was a little nerve-wracking to say the least because we knew that there were a couple prep arms that were on the board that could be who the Tigers picked. And even when they were picking at 12 and the Rangers had shook up the draft a little bit by drafting Rocker number 3 overall, and then the Cubs went and reached for another collegiate arm as well, things started to take shape and you wondered, okay, is this the year that the Tigers actually draft somebody in the first round that people are excited about? And or was it going to be one of those situations where they took the prep arm because they were the best available, like they had done so many times in the past? And it got to 12. And at 12, sitting on the board was a third base prospect who was 17 years old and played junior college this year to reclassify for this draft, named Cam Collier. And that's who I wanted. But they ended up taking a guy named Jace Young out of Texas Tech. And it seemed underwhelming at first. It was one of those situations where you wondered, did they leave a little bit out there not taking Collier at 12 when he basically fell into their lap? But Jace Young is who they took. He's an infielder. He hits left-handed, hits for power. Is 6 foot 205. He was a 4-year player, a 4-year junior at Texas Tech. Projects to potentially be a second baseman. They tried him at third his freshman year, was having some trouble with his arm and getting the ball across the diamond accurately, transitioned to second base, and that's where he stuck. But what is most impressive about Jace, and the reason why they drafted him, is his bat. He has above average hit tools, above average power tools, and watching some video and looking at him, his approach at the plate is very good. He has a very narrow stance to start in the box. He's and attacks the ball left-handed, nice stroke. But then in an at bat that I watched, he had 2 strikes on him. You saw that stance widen out. There was no lift of the front foot, choked up on the bat, and hit the ball hard to right field in the at bat that I saw. He is somebody that's going to put the bat on the ball, does not strike out a ton, does have good plate discipline, and truthfully, even though he's not Collier or somebody maybe we thought that they should have taken at that pick, this was a really good pick. And if you've watched the corner for any amount of time, that I am not shy in my opinions on the general manager of the Detroit Tigers, Al Avila. But I got to say, he did pretty decent in that first round getting Jace Young. It was a good pick. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. And that credit is due to the fact that Young is one of those guys that could have a quick turnaround time in the minors. Now, we don't want it to be too quick to where he has Torkelson struggles in his debut, but he could. Every player's different. Probably project him to be up maybe as a late season call up next season, or in 2024, potentially throughout the year, there would be when you would probably expect to pick him up. Now, they had a competitive balance pick that they traded to the Tampa Bay Rays for Austin Meadows with Isaac Paredes. So they picked in the second round at 51 after 12. And then they also lost their third round pick when they signed Eduardo MIA Rodriguez this offseason. So the Tigers had picks 12, 51, and 117. And with that, in the second round at pick 51, they picked Peyton Graham out of Oklahoma, a shortstop who's lanky, athletic, pretty decent fielder, has played all of the infield positions from studying up on him. Could play third base, though, and that's the big thing. He could play third base. Not really a power hitter from all the looking at it that I did. More of a contact approach in his hitting, but a very solid hitter that has a good approach. So shoring up that infield and getting bats seems to be the MO. When we look, we got One, two, three, four, five, six bats, as I said, from college in their first 10 picks. And they're really only 9 picks because they didn't have that competitive balance pick. 6 of 9 picks were all hitters, which is fantastic moving forward. A couple other names that they got, they did draft a third baseman out of Boston College named Luke Gold. They also drafted another shortstop, Danny Soretti, out of North Carolina. They drafted an outfielder from Tennessee, Seth Stevenson. And then they also drafted a first baseman, Andrew Jenkins, from Georgia Tech in some of those picks. They also picked up a couple pitchers, a right-handed pitcher from San Diego State, Troy Melton. They also picked up Jake Miller from Valparaiso, and they also picked up Trevin Michael from Oklahoma. So all in all, through the first 10 rounds of the draft, you got to say that this was a pretty good draft for the Tigers. And look, we know it. We've seen what has taken place over this first half of the season. And the reality is this: the rebuild's not over. Regardless of what Chris Ilitch said to the Detroit News at the beginning of the season, the rebuild's not over. This was not a competitive baseball team in the first half. Could things change in the second half? Probably, or maybe, but not probably. It's going to be much the same because the pitching staff is decimated, and you've got a lot of young arms that are going to be on inning limits, so that bullpen's going to be taxed a lot. It could be very rough, but it could also mean that you're going to see a lot of the younger guys. And kudos, they had a plan, and they knew that there was need and there was talent that was available to fill those needs, and they didn't reach. They didn't reach on prep arms. They didn't reach on prep players. They went and got who they needed to get for these draft picks. And hats off. I'm not going to sit here and criticize. I still am not a fan of Al Avila. I still don't think that he should have any decisions to make on this roster moving forward, but at least they did a decent job in this draft. But the reality is, it'll be a few years before we figure out if these were actually great draft picks or not, because they're not coming up at the end of the season. They're guys that are going to take a year and a half, 2-3 years to get to our team. So it's really going to be dependent on that player development piece. And their player development has been rumored to have been better than what it has been in the past. Again, there's a cautious optimism. The first half was a complete disappointment, but this draft again brings in hope anew in a way, right? It's a cautious optimism with the Tigers moving forward.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on the way.